Devin turned $10,000 into $47,000 in 8 months. He screenshot the portfolio, sent it to the group chat, and didn't hear the end of it for weeks. Carter watched the whole thing from his brokerage account, where his $10,000 had quietly grown to $11,200. Nobody screenshotted that. Nobody sent it to anyone. And for a while, it genuinely looked like Devin had cracked the code and Carter had missed the biggest wealth transfer of his generation. Then, 2022 happened, and the math that looked like genius started looking like something else entirely. My name is Jack. If you've ever watched someone else win big on crypto and wondered if you made the wrong call, hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Let's get into it. Let's set this up fairly. It's January 2020. Devin and Carter are both 28 years old. Same city, same income, around $60,000 a year. Both have managed to save $10,000 and they're ready to put it to work. The only difference is what they do with it. Devin has been watching crypto since 2017. He missed the first Bitcoin run and told himself he wouldn't miss the next one. He puts his entire $10,000 into a mix of Bitcoin and Ethereum, roughly 60-40. Carter opens a brokerage account, drops his $10,000 into a total market index fund, sets up a $200 monthly automatic contribution, and goes back to living his life. Devin also commits to adding $200 a month, but into crypto. Same starting amount, same monthly contribution, same 5 years. Completely different outcomes. 2020 starts quietly for both of them. The market crashes in March. Devin's crypto portfolio drops with it, briefly touching $6,800. Carter's index fund falls to about $7,900. Both of them are underwater. Neither of them feels smart. But Devin has been in crypto long enough to know it moves fast in both directions. He holds. Carter holds too, mostly because he set up automatic contributions and forgot to panic. By the end of 2020, something shifts. Bitcoin starts moving. Then it really starts moving. Devin's $10,000 initial investment, plus the $2,400 he's added through the year, is now worth somewhere around $28,000. Carter's portfolio with the same contributions is sitting at about $15,500. On paper, Devin is winning by nearly $13,000, and he has barely been investing for a year. His coworkers start asking him questions. His family starts asking him questions. He starts answering them with a confidence that the numbers seem to justify. 2021 is the year Devin feels like he figured something out that the rest of the world is just catching up to. Bitcoin hits $64,000 in April. Ethereum breaks $4,000. Devin's portfolio peaks somewhere around $47,000 in November. He's turned $10,000 plus about $4,400 in contributions into $47,000 in under 2 years. That's not an investment return. That's a different life. He starts researching whether he can quit his job. He starts talking about buying a house with crypto profits. He screenshots everything. Carter's index fund portfolio at the same point in November 2021 is worth about $21,000. Same contributions, same timeline. Devin is ahead by $26,000. There is no argument Carter can make at this dinner table. Devin has won, and everyone knows it. Then December happens. Then January. Then 2022 arrives like a bill that's been sitting unopened on the counter for 2 years. Bitcoin drops from $69,000 to under $20,000 by June 2022. Ethereum falls from over $4,800 to under $1,000. Devin's $47,000 portfolio doesn't just dip, it collapses. By July 2022, his portfolio is worth approximately $11,000. He has watched $36,000 evaporate in 8 months, not on paper losses that feel abstract. Real money that was real enough to screenshot, real enough to quit your job and buy a house money, gone. He didn't sell at the top because he believed in the technology. He didn't sell on the way down because every crypto community he followed told him to hold. By the time he considered selling, there wasn't much left to sell. Carter's index fund in July 2022 is worth about $18,500. The stock market had its own rough year, down roughly 20% from its peak. But 20% is not 77%. Carter lost sleep. Devin lost $36,000. This is the moment the comparison stops being about returns and starts being about psychology. Devin had watched his portfolio do something most investments never do. He watched it nearly 5 times in under 2 years. That experience rewires how you think about money. When something goes from $10,000 to $47,000, selling at $40,000 feels like losing. Selling at $30,000 feels like a disaster. So you hold, and you hold, and you tell yourself it's coming back because it came back before. And sometimes it does, and sometimes July 2022 happens first. Carter never had that problem. His portfolio never gave him a reason to make a dramatic decision. It went up slowly, dipped occasionally, and kept going. The boring consistency of it is actually a feature, not a bug, because it never triggered the part of Devin's brain that made catastrophically bad timing decisions. Let's talk about what Devin's crypto journey actually cost him beyond the portfolio drop. Every time Devin traded, whether swapping Bitcoin for Ethereum, moving funds between exchanges, or taking any profit, that was a taxable event. The IRS treats every crypto trade as a sale. Devin made dozens of trades over 5 years. Some were profitable, some weren't. But the profitable ones generated tax bills he wasn't always prepared for. In 2021 alone, Devin owed capital gains tax on profits he'd already watched evaporate by the time tax season arrived. That's not a hypothetical. That's one of the most common financial disasters crypto investors walked into in 2022. Paying taxes on gains that no longer existed. Exchange fees, withdrawal fees, gas fees on certain networks, and the spread between buy and sell prices on smaller coins all quietly ate into Devin's returns at every step. On an active crypto portfolio over 5 years, these costs can amount to several hundred to several $1,000s depending on trading frequency. None of it shows up in the headline return number. All of it shows up in the actual account balance. Carter paid an expense ratio of roughly 0.03% annually on his index fund. On a $20,000 portfolio, that's about $6 a year. That's the entire cost of his investment strategy for a full year. By the end of 2022, Devin's portfolio sits at about $10,500. He is essentially back to where he started nearly 3 years ago. Minus the tax complications, minus the fees, minus the $36,000 he watched disappear. Carter's portfolio at the end of 2022 is around $17,800. 2023 tells a different story. Crypto begins recovering. Bitcoin climbs back above $40,000 by year end. Devin's portfolio recovers to around $22,000. Carter's index fund, riding a strong stock market year, climbs to about $24,500. For the first time since early 2020, they're roughly even. Devin has survived the crash. He hasn't recovered what he lost at the peak, but he's back in the game. 2024 brings Bitcoin above $60,000 again, eventually pushing toward new all-time highs. Devin's portfolio by the end of 2024 is worth approximately $38,000 to $42,000. Carter's index fund with 5 years of $200 monthly contributions and strong market performance sits at approximately $32,000 to $36,000. So after 5 years, Devin is ahead. But the gap is nothing like what it looked like in November 2021. And the gap doesn't account for the taxes Devin owes on his recovered gains. It doesn't account for the fees. It doesn't account for the 8 months Devin spent watching $36,000 disappear, and the decisions he almost made at the bottom that would have locked in those losses permanently. And it doesn't account for the fact that Devin's outcome required him to hold through a 77% crash without selling, which is something that majority of crypto investors statistically did not do. Here's the part that's easy to skip over. Devin's return only looks good if you assume he held perfectly through one of the most brutal asset crashes in recent financial history. The average crypto investor did not do that. Coinbase reported massive sell-offs in 2022. Google searches for how to sell Bitcoin peaked during the crash. The Devin in this story who held through everything and came out ahead is not the average Devin. He's the best case Devin. Most real Devins sold somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000, locked in a loss, and watched the recovery happen without them. Carter's return doesn't require him to be exceptional. It requires him to do nothing, which is precisely what the strategy is designed for. Now let's be honest about what index funds don't do. Carter never had a $47,000 moment. He never had a story for the group chat. He never had a year where his portfolio nearly 5 times. The maximum upside of a total market index fund is tied to the performance of the entire U.S. economy, which over 5 years delivered strong but not spectacular returns. If Devin had picked the right coins at the right time and actually sold at the right time, he could be sitting on life-changing money right now. That's not a fantasy. That happened for some people. The question is whether you had the information, the timing, and the emotional discipline to be one of them. There's also no cash flow from an index fund, no monthly income, no yield worth building a life around at this portfolio size. Crypto at least offers staking returns on certain assets, though those come with their own risk profile. And the volatility of crypto, the same feature that terrified Carter, is exactly what created Devon's $47,000 peak. You cannot have the upside without accepting the downside as a real possibility, not a theoretical one. After 5 full years, Devon is slightly ahead in raw portfolio value if he held perfectly. Carter is slightly behind in raw numbers, but significantly ahead in risk-adjusted terms. Tax simplicity, time spent managing the investment, and emotional cost. Devon's outcome required exceptional behavior during exceptional stress. Carter's outcome required almost no behavior at all. The real question this comparison raises isn't which asset class won. It's which type of investor are you actually going to be when the portfolio drops 77% and every community you're part of is telling you to hold, while your real-life financial obligations are still very much real. Devon's strategy has a higher ceiling. It also has a floor that most people aren't emotionally or financially equipped to survive without making a decision they'll regret. Let's go back to January 2020 for a moment and look at something both Devin and Carter skipped over entirely. Neither of them talked to anyone about what they were actually doing with that $10,000. Devin watched YouTube videos and read Reddit threads. Carter read one article about index funds, opened a brokerage account, and set up the automatic contribution. Neither of them had a plan beyond the initial decision. And for Carter, that turned out to be fine because the strategy doesn't require a plan beyond the initial decision. For Devin, the absence of a plan became a problem the moment the chart stopped going up. A plan would have told Devin what he was going to do if Bitcoin dropped 30%, or 50%, or 77%. It would have defined what winning looked like, so he had a reason to sell when winning was actually happening. Without that, Devin was making real-time emotional decisions with real money at the worst possible moments. The peak felt too early to sell. The crash felt too late to sell. The recovery felt like validation for holding. At no point did Devin have a number that told him the game was over and it was time to take the money off the table. Carter's plan was the plan. Automatic contributions, no interference, don't check it more than once a quarter. That's not a lack of strategy. That's the strategy. And it's the reason Carter never had to make a hard decision at a hard moment. Here is what 5 years of data actually tells us about these two approaches when you zoom out past Devin and Carter and look at the broader numbers. According to multiple studies on retail investor behavior, the average crypto investor underperforms the asset itself because of buying and selling at the wrong times. The asset might return 200% over a period, but the average investor in that asset captures a fraction of that return because they bought during euphoria and sold during panic. Devin's story, where he held perfectly through the crash, is statistically the exception. Most people who invested in crypto in 2020 and 2021 did not hold through 2022 and come out with a positive 5-year return. Many of them have a story that ends somewhere in the middle of the crash. The average index fund investor also underperforms the index, but by a much smaller margin, because the temptation to make dramatic moves is much smaller when the chart is moving in a range of plus or minus 20%, rather than plus or minus 77%. This is the part of the conversation that doesn't fit on a thumbnail. The return of an asset and the return an investor actually captures from that asset are two completely different numbers, and the gap between them is almost entirely determined by human behavior under pressure. Devin's asset outperformed Carter's asset in the best case scenario. Devin the investor may or may not have outperformed Carter the investor, depending entirely on what Devin actually did when the pressure was highest. So where does that leave someone who's sitting on the fence right now, watching Bitcoin climb again, watching their index fund move steadily upward, and wondering which decision is going to feel smarter in 5 years? The honest answer is that it depends less on the assets and more on the investor. If you can genuinely hold a 70% drawdown without selling, without losing sleep that affects your work and your relationships, and without the position being large enough to affect your actual financial obligations, then crypto as a portion of a portfolio is a rational bet on a high-risk, high-ceiling asset class. If any part of that sentence made you uncomfortable, the index fund is not the boring choice. It's the correct one for the investor you actually are, not the investor you imagine yourself being when the chart is going up. Devin and Carter both made it 5 years. Devin has a better story. Carter has a better night's sleep. And depending on what the next 5 years look like, one of them is going to be very glad they made the decision they made in January 2020. The other one is going to be calculating what would have happened if they'd done it differently. That calculation, the one you run in your head at 2 in the morning when the market does something unexpected, is the real cost nobody puts in the spreadsheet.